Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
They're crazy out there, and they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. But yes, it's really significant what's happening.
That is Senator Inhofe of Oklahoma, a pretty good guy overall when you talk about establishment Republicans, and when he starts talking like that, you've got to be really concerned. Al-Qaeda is real. It's renamed itself ISIS or IS. And I don't like to toot my own horn because we're so busy covering the latest news as it breaks. But people tend to pay attention to what you say when you can show them a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, saying Al-Qaeda in Iraq is being deployed into Syria, armed by the NATO forces, funded by Saudi Arabia, directed by the CIA. That was all in foreign newspapers. That was all in the Gulf newspapers. That was in the Israeli newspapers. This is not my opinion. Remember Rand Paul and Ted Cruz talked about it? Hey, we shouldn't be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. And now they're on the news saying we've got to attack Syria because the Syrian civil war has allowed ISIS to have a base, or Al-Qaeda. When it's our government and globalist criminals worldwide that started this whole thing to begin with in 1979 and 1983. I have interviewed the Special Forces commanders and the Army commanders, Colonel Schaefer, you name it, who publicly ran the programs to kill Al-Qaeda leaders and were ordered to stand down. Twice in the week before 9/11 to kill Osama bin Laden. Operation Stratus Ivy. By the way, I want to get Schaefer on, if we can do that. I know he has to jump through a lot of hoops to come on because they call him into the Pentagon. He still consults and advises to the Army War College and scream at him whenever he comes on. But seriously, let's twist his arm and get him on the show. I want to get his take on all of this. So it's a real threat. They're going to have the neocons and fake conservatives write news articles saying that I'm saying ISIS doesn't exist when they blow up a sports stadium or blow up a bunch of major skyscrapers, or God forbid smuggle a nuclear weapon in. That's not what I said. I said, you funded him, you protected him, and you're going to get the blame when it happens. You're not going to shut down the press and take my guns and roll your MRAPs out against the Tea Party. Because let me tell you something, the neocons are manipulating Obama. The Democrats and the neocons at the highest levels are basically the same cabal. And I have told you for years, as soon as Al-Qaeda's done taking part of Iraq and Syria, they're going to rename themselves to confuse the public. I mean, they're following like pancake recipe or something. This is shake and bake. It's formulaic. And they are going to hit the West. And I predict they're going to start out with surface-to-air missiles with 10,000-foot ceilings shooting airliners down. They could deploy these all over Europe and all over the United States. And, I mean, if they've got 15,000 of them, they could easily smuggle in hundreds. And they could, at one time, say 9:01 a.m., park 2 miles from every major airport and shoot down 100 airplanes in 1 hour. You know what happens when a plane's taken off at 3,000 or 4,000 feet and its engine gets hit by a missile? It crashes. Everybody dies. Sometimes if one gets hit by a missile at 10,000 feet, they can get it back to the ground. And I've got these ISIS people being allowed to run free all over the country, sending us threats, you name it. They're allowed to operate on Twitter and Facebook, but we're not. We're censored. I tried to put a Rick Perry video out, his defense video last night on Facebook, and it wasn't letting me. Well, in fact, I forgot to give that to you guys. I gave it to Do last night, the Nightly News, when they censored me. It's a 1 minute, it's a Stand with Rick ad. It's pretty powerful. I want to get that too. So I'm not allowed to put stuff out, but Al-Qaeda is. It is Friday, the 22nd day of August 2014. I'm your host, Alex Jones. I'll be back live in studio. Yours truly this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, with the Sunday transmission to cover all the things that'll obviously unfold this evening, Saturday, and Sunday morning and afternoon. And, of course, InfoWars Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central, as we develop the InfoWars News Center to be able to cover news basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Senator Inhofe told Fox News in Oklahoma City in a detailed sit-down interview that's up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and DrudgeReport.com, he told Fox 25 that ISIS is developing an operation to blow up a major city. Now, that's what they're feeding the senator in the Intelligence Committee. He's a senior senator, obviously, and has access to all that. They're going to be allowed to attack us, and it will be bigger than 9/11, my gut tells me. It's going to be airliners getting shot down, buildings being blown up, nerve gas being dumped down ventilation shafts on. May even launch a chemical attack and say Chicago or L.A. or Austin, for that matter, and blame it on Assad. And our media will say Assad did it, and it will say he's al-Qaeda. They've already been doing that over there. And Turkey got caught and Saudi Arabia got caught giving them the nerve gas. It came out in the UN and the BBC months after we documented it that it was a staged chemical attack to set up Assad. And I've got people talking to me on the street, and I see it on the news about, yeah, we didn't take Assad out, so now this is happening. Yeah, we didn't let Hitler do what he wanted to. So, I mean, it's just absolute brainwashing with a public that doesn't even know who the players are. Al-Qaeda in Iraq 4 years ago was allowed to set up bases in the west of Iraq and invade eastern Syria. They started the civil war 4 years ago in Syria. They were given massive funding. They're 65%, according to NATO, of the rebel force. The Council on Foreign Relations last year had the headline, "Why We Need Al-Qaeda." And they said, give them air support to take over the country and we'll remove them later. Bull. Saudi Arabia, since 1901, officially set up in 1931, but it was established by British intelligence in a multi-hundred square mile area in the middle of the desert, giving a radical jihadi group weapons to take over the entire region and set up Saudi Arabia. They took over Syria. They took over where the old Turkish Empire or the Ottoman Empire collapsed. Okay? So that's a fact, but the system thinks you're so dumb that now they can say, see, we need Homeland Security and the MRAPs. They're saying that in the news. And we need checkpoints. And we need total NSA surveillance because ISIS and Al-Qaeda and IS, all the same group, they all have the same flags. They say they're Al-Qaeda. That is just Western names to confuse everyone. Al-Qaeda has established an Islamic State in eastern Syria and western Iraq. That's a fact. To launch attacks worldwide. They were given Afghanistan before. They've been trying to find a home. They've been given the home by NATO, and now our military is only bombing them so the public doesn't figure out that our government's behind Al-Qaeda. And because they've got to paint by the numbers and stay in that area they've been given. We have a deal with Iran to give them the east, to give the Kurds the north of Iraq, and to give IS, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the western area. That is official. That has been out for years. That has been the plan to partition Iraq. This is all discussed on C-SPAN. It's all discussed at the Brookings Institute. It's all discussed at the Council on Foreign Relations. It's in all the military Jane's Weapons quarterly breakdowns. Anyone who's actually a policy person knows this, okay? So understand, everyone at the CIA knows, all the military brass know, even the enlisted know. That's why they rebelled last year and said, we don't want to bomb Syria for Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda is much worse than Assad. We will not morally join with Sauron. And that was a magic moment for our military rediscovering their morals, rediscovering their mission, rediscovering the Constitution, rediscovering the moral high ground. And I wept. Driving home one day, just tears ran down my face of joy when thousands of military officers, Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, would cover their faces in uniform, active duty, and hold up signs saying, "I will not fight for al-Qaeda in Syria," Infowars.com under it. Wasn't even my idea. They just did it. And then Senator Paul and Senator Cruz came out and said the same thing, and we had a victory. And General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, went on that Saturday night to the White House at midnight and told Obama the military is going to mutiny if you do this. Even the top generals say this is immoral. We're losing the moral high ground. The world's going to learn that we are helping al-Qaeda. You cannot do it. And again, a lot of them said Infowars.com. Most of them didn't say Infowars.com on their signs, but a lot of them did. But, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just al-Qaeda in Iraq that's being funded. The border, since the start of the year, 8 months has been wide open. We were warned about 6 months ago by the head of the Border Patrol Union, the head of the retired union, and a bunch of senior members of their intelligence panel, committee, roundtable. They leaked it all. They had federal gag orders put on them. The feds are trying to prosecute senior Border Patrol people, saying they violated national security, pointing out that they were ordered to receive the illegals being bussed in, take whatever fake ID or no ID and bust them wherever they want. Thousands of nationals out of Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Pakistan, Afghanistan are coming across. Chinese workers will work a decade to raise $10,000 to $30,000 just to get snuck across by a coyotes. And the Democratic Party is being paid off large portions of that cash to allow this flood. But you put 2 and 2 together, and it's all coming together. And I said this a year ago. I said this 6 months ago. I said it last month, and I'm getting the worst chills I have ever had right now. Okay, my gut is just absolutely on fire right now. And I have told you hundreds of times exactly what their battle plan is because I can see what they're setting up. I can see what they're pre-scripting in the media, getting everybody ready for. Obama says the #1 threat he sees is a nuke going off in Manhattan, and he doesn't know who will be behind it. Inhofe has been told on the Intelligence Committee that ISIS is preparing to blow up a U.S. city.
They're crazy out there. And they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. But yes, it's really significant what's happening.
Now, all of that's going on. The full interview's up on Infowars.com. Senator Inhofe warns of political... I'm having a Freudian slip, it's political propaganda. Senator Inhofe warns of potential terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. So the border's wide open so they can have plausible deniability. Al-Qaeda is showing up at the White House with ISIS flags. They're sending threats to TV and radio stations. We've been threatened by them. Ominous tweet connects ISIS threat in Chicago. CBS. That is the type of stuff that's unfolding here. So, we are now wide open. They are now doing what they did right before 9/11, saying we're about to get hit by al-Qaeda. When al-Qaeda hits, we got to take all your rights away. Now repeat back to me. We're about to get hit by al-Qaeda. We give up all of our rights when they do attack us. And it doesn't matter that this group's being funded out of Saudi Arabia again. Doesn't matter it's being armed and given intelligence by NATO again. It doesn't matter. When they hit the United States or Europe, you can bet your bottom dollar they will attack an innocent country. See, they follow the same script. Saudi Arabia attacks us on 9/11. We attack Iraq. They're our arch enemy. We get attacked by al-Qaeda, who's been attacking Syria. When they attack us, we will attack Syria, who's fighting them. You see how that works? And by the way, that's already proven Because you notice now they're saying we got to take Assad out because the civil war going on too long has allowed al-Qaeda to get a foothold when our government gave them the weapons and the foothold. That's why I get so mad at people being obsessed with sports. Because men know all about sports scores, all about the facts and things, and will argue with each other like it's military strategy and strategic thinking. They have the brain centers to do that, but they know about their male soap opera of the simulated battle, not the real war game going on against all of humanity right now. I need people to figure out the players here. I want to hear from U.S. military, active duty, especially federal marshals, FBI, Border Patrol, you name it. I want to hear from you. And I'll try to go to your calls as quickly as possible instead of perseverating over the news. I'm just here wringing my hands. This is not my opinion. Criminal globalist elements are funding and protecting the most nasty form of radical Islam and letting it set up all over the country and green lighting it to hit the streets and to destabilize the country to then form a clash of civilizations. And the average American is so geopolitically ignorant that when the Saudi Arabian-funded groups attack this country, our military will then crush poor, non-radical Muslims that wear suits and ties, and their women go to college and have freedom. We will then blow up their major cities, turn them over to al-Qaeda to be murdered en masse. 300,000+ in 4 years in Syria killed conservatively. Well over 50,000 dead in the last few months in Iraq, murdered. Men, women, children, police officers, Iraqi army trained by our military, good men. They're being murdered. And our filthy, evil government is right in the middle of coordinating the whole thing. And that's how stupid they think we are. They can get away with basically anything at this point. And then when we hear, oh, we're attacking ISIS, sure, I hope ISIS gets blown up. But who put them there? Who protected them? They're not. They're doing a few bombings of a few trucks and a few artillery pieces. And then now baiting and switching, as I said they do a few weeks ago, to say we've got to take out Assad. And I had people this morning coming up to me saying, I've been hearing your show about ISIS. We need to take them all out, Assad too. Just the mindless primitiveness of this. And the guy I was talking to is a successful corporate guy, was in military intelligence, did CIA work. I know in Vietnam is a smart guy, but still at a primitive level, let's just kill them all. When I was at the gym talking to this fella. And I didn't even argue with him. It's just like, yeah, I mean, let's attack Australia if al-Qaeda, known as IS, attacks us. And by the way, that's not a joke. They're using the terror attacks and the threat of them to take all of our freedoms. And behind the scenes, Homeland Security doesn't train to fight radical Muslims or al-Qaeda or IS or ISIS, all these names to confuse the sheeple. They train to fight who? This is public. Their words, not mine. Returning veterans, gun owners, Christians, libertarians, constitutionalists, and conservatives in general. Who do they target with the IRS and the FBI? Who do they target with the MRAPs, the Tea Party? They have those out at rallies at the Tea Party and the sound cannons, the LRADs. This is just today. Iraq militants killed 64 in attack on Sunni mosque, AP. They went in, blew up the whole thing of churchgoers, basically, and killed them. British Muslims blame jihad subculture after beheading video. Reuters. Jewish school in Copenhagen vandalized. Argentina's, that's just some of the news we've got on devaluation of currencies I'm going to get to. More ISIS news. Republican ISIS developing means to blow up a U.S. city. That's Inhofe, the senator. The U.S. begins selling Syria intervention, close quote, using ISIS as the pretext. U.S. general says raiding Syria is key to halting ISIS. ISIS offered to swap Foley for Lady al-Qaeda terrorist, wanted scientist who was caught with plans for mass casualty attack with a dirty bomb, Ebola, and a chemical weapon that, quote, spared children. I'm going to get into this report. Another report detailing it at Infowars.com. You do realize the U.S. funded and trained ISIS, right? Meanwhile, from Australia to the U.S., parents are having their children taken for letting them play in the park or staying at home alone, even when they're 15 years old. It's up to 15 now. We're going to give that number out and take your calls. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. I want to hear from our military.
The Empire's on
I want to hear from police.
Alex Jones and the GCN
You going to go along with the civil war
Network.
they're going to start after al-Qaeda hits us? Ladies and gentlemen, one reason the globalists are so hard to beat is they are so over the top. Saudi Arabia was clearly involved in 9/11. We attack Iraq. Syria is fighting al-Qaeda, trying to make deals with Israel for a decade, trying to join the West. They get attacked by al-Qaeda, and now our government's saying attack the Syrian government to stop al-Qaeda. That is so criminal and so over the top. But it's our military last year and earlier this year that said no to the open Syrian intervention to overthrow Assad, who's been democratizing, and his secular military. What did our government try to do? They backed overthrowing our ally, the secular government, Hosni Mubarak, 33 years in control of Egypt. Now Israel is running around with Netanyahu saying, you know, ISIS might be a good thing to destabilize the Middle East. That's immoral. That loses the moral high ground. That's because the West has decided to join with Saudi Arabia and al-Qaeda and to let them take over the whole Middle East. There's another triple cross where they claim they're doubling back with Iran and actually attacking ISIS forces in a deal with Iran. Yes, if ISIS gets out of the area they've been given. Because again, they don't fully control ISIS, they're just funding them, protecting them, and turning them loose. Look at this headline right here. Former Homeland Security advisor, and we have the clip coming up, very, very true, ISIS may have crossed the border.
What do you make of these reports of ISIS collaborating with Mexican drug cartels to exploit our southern border?
Yeah, I think that Governor Perry's words are unfortunately very, very true. We have seen this administration and the lack of security, a lack of policy along the U.S. border. But I think more importantly, they have really shown, this administration has really shown a lack of understanding. They've absolutely underestimated the threat from ISIS. And
that's Joshua Katz, former senior policy advisor to the Senators Intelligence Committee.
From ISIS. So this is something that the that has been known to all of us for.
All right, that's
a while.
good. That's from Fox News. So they're all playing dumb now. Oh, Obama didn't know. Oh, the attack's coming. They're going to blow up a big city. They are allowing al-Qaeda to come into the country. They are crawling all over us. They are having demonstrations in every U.S. city, along with other Muslims that are legitimately concerned about problems in Palestine and other issues. But in amongst them are the ISIS flags. In amongst them are the Wahhabist jihadis that are funded by Saudi Arabia and NATO. And they have turned loose an army. How many times have I said, how many hundreds of times, that al-Qaeda is the secret army of the New World Order, the destabilizing force worldwide? And now you're seeing it. Our borders are down. They're telling us, brace for al-Qaeda ISIS attack. Our government turned them loose, protected them, set them up when al-Qaeda had been decimated. and reduced, and now they're back. They're in Ferguson saying ISIS is here. And I see all these trendy liberals online cheering on the jihad and cheering on the Arab Spring that was funded by Google and the Ford Foundation and George Soros's Open Society group publicly. It's part of the global destabilization. If you are a veteran and fought against al-Qaeda in Iraq, if you lost a leg or lost a buddy or got shot, I know my cousin has lost so many friends to al-Qaeda and the Haqqani Network and the rest of them. That's why he continues to go back into combat. Been in the Army 31 years. 31 years. More than 20 tours. It's like 50-something years old. They got old guys, folks, where they even understand our government's funding them at a certain level. They don't care. They want to go fight these guys because they've killed their buddies. This is so sick how they manipulate our own tribalism. I want to hear from active duty, but also people that have been victims of al-Qaeda. Is it not clear what's happening, how we're being set up? Al-Qaeda is being led into attack as the political diversion so martial law can come into place. They're saying a whole city could be blown up. That means a nuke. And you've got Obama saying, my main fear is a nuke going off in New York. Let's get that clip if we can. And then you've got missing nukes from Dyess Air Force Base that weren't even supposed to be there. We had this from high-level witnesses that saw it, high level, that's all I'm going to say, who physically went out and stopped the trucks coming off saying, you got to have paperwork. And the base commander came out and said, here's the paperwork. It's ordered by the president. Now get out of the way. There was a confrontation. This happened. And then within 24 hours, Senator Lindsey Graham was running around on the Intelligence Committee on CBS News saying, brace for nuclear bombs to go off in the Carolinas and in New York City if we don't take down Assad. Al-Qaeda will hit us. Assad's fighting Al-Qaeda. So you can see him putting the narrative out. That makes no sense. Why would we be nuked by Al-Qaeda if we didn't take out Assad? Or was there a deal? Is it going to be criminal elements, the Democratic Party, that shut off a nuke? Is it going to be a foreign power? Is it going to be ISIS themselves? I don't know. But I can see the total setup for plausible deniability going on right now. And notice, we were saying this before there was any evidence of it. Because I could see the programming in the media, the preparations, the digging in. And so we get hit, a major city goes up in flames. There's only one thing that can take out a whole city. One thing man-made that'll take out a whole city, and that's an atomic or hydrogen bomb. Remember Obama? About a month after I said there was missing nukes, and we had missing nukes from Minot, North Dakota in 2007 that showed up at the Air Force Base in Louisiana. And I remember that was in the Liberty-based media days before it broke. It was a, quote, conspiracy theory. And then they killed a bunch of people at the base that had witnessed what went on. They were trying to disappear and ship cruise missiles to the Middle East loaded with high-tech hydrogen bombs, hydrogen warheads. There's a bunch of weird stuff going on, folks. And everybody better have their eyes open. Toll-free number to join us for police, military, you name it. You guys let me know when you have that Obama clip. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Is there any other way to see what's happening here? How do you take down America if you're globalist criminals? You fund radical terrorists to attack the country. You use that terror attack as the pretext to bring in martial law, while the true training of the NATO and NORTHCOM military, this is Forbes magazine, Associated Press, Reuters, Washington Post, is to have a war with the patriots who follow the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and are Americans. There is no way to debate what's happening. 800-259-9231. Let's go to Garrett in Texas, a former Marine. What is this like for you to see this unfolding? And do you disagree with anything I've said, or do you want to add something?
Yes, I agree. Yes, I'd like to add, this is the twilight zone. When I joined the Marine Corps and the training we went through, I was in security forces at a nuclear arms base up in Seattle, Washington. It's almost like I had this feeling the whole time that they're building up for something, and what is it? And it's not what they're telling us. But that's a whole other issue. I'd really like to get onto the point of immigration and then all the false flags that they're setting, and basically them getting ready for what appears to be civil war.
Yes.
I'm sure you're aware of what happens in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, the way that they ship in basically their immigration force from the surrounding countries, and they basically enslave them by these contracts, and they have them living on compounds, and they're building their new empire over there. They're doing the same exact thing, I personally believe, with the poor immigrants that are coming from...
I totally agree. They are setting up work compounds and will exploit them, but it's not just about exploiting them. It's about exploiting everyone else, using them to drive down the wages. You import the third world slave population to do that.
It's a three-pronged spear. It's a trident, and they're killing 10,000 birds with one stone. And now, once we start to pay attention to that, here comes the distraction. They were planning on just paying attention to the news, waiting for a new story to come up. They've obviously been trying to get this race war going. That's going to be the tip of the spear, and then from that, it's going to be patriots versus. It's kind of like the chaos of the protests that are going on now and the chaos of the 99% movement, how it all gets infiltrated, it becomes chaos. And just
then Al-Qaeda hits, and they say, well, Homeland Security was busy dealing with riots. The nuke went off in Chicago, or the nuke went off in Manhattan. And they will do it and totally take over. And you can. That's why they don't care if you know they stole the pension funds. It's why they don't care if you know they're devaluing the dollar. It's why they don't care and go on the news and say your kids belong to the state. It's why they don't care and say 2 + 2 = 5, because everything they do with their body language, it's like bank robbers that have already shot 3 cops. They're the most dangerous because they're going to kill 10 more. They have nothing to lose. They are going all out bunker land on the news saying attack Assad to stop ISIS when that's who he's fighting. That's how dumb they think we are. I mean, it is Twilight Zone. It is over the top bunker land.
Well, I'll tell you what, my adrenaline is rushing because of how important this is. You talk about the...
Oh, you can feel it, can't you? Anybody who's got their head screwed on straight can see they're dropping the hammer, man. This is the beginning of the end of this country.
Well, I'll tell you what, most people in the military, they're either it's just like normal society. They're either completely awake or they don't have a clue. And, most of the people that are awake, unfortunately, they've got us kind of pinned down. They know who we are. They're ready for us. But I just really, really hope enough people, like at the end of the Lego movie, as lame as this sounds, if the bad guys just decide they want to be the good guys and give up on this, we have a chance. And I hope at least Texas will be a shining city on the hill, even if America falls, that the people of Texas will stand up for liberty and freedom.
Why do you think they've just indicted Rick Perry? Because Rick Perry, and I've talked to state senators on air a few years ago about the secret plan that Rick Perry had to basically set up martial law on the border to stop a collapse of Mexico, because it would totally ruin the state if Mexico collapsed into Texas. The plan is to not let Mexico collapse into California, but to let it collapse into Republican states to then make them go blue or socialist. And I'm not even a Republican, but you can see the strategic plan and how bad it is. And then everything they said, Rick Perry then implemented. And then I was basically given the word that no, Rick Perry, and I don't even know if this is true, but we see evidence of it, is getting ready to double-cross the globalists, and then he gets indicted. And so you put all of it together. Look, they're indicting other Republican governors. They're arresting them for Virginia, you name it, for nothing. They're arresting Dinesh D'Souza. They're arresting literally hundreds of Tea Party people with fake IRS charges. I mean, they're not just auditing them. They're then doing criminal charges on made-up stuff. I mean, they're doing things that have never happened in this country. And that's what I keep warning people about. This is hardcore. And I'm not trying to scare people with the truth. I'm trying to get people active to realize that this is happening. Our only hope is saying no and calling it out. And I'm going to tell the police and military again, when the nuke goes off, they may blame it on the Tea Party or Al-Qaeda. They're so bold. That's why they had Army War Games a few years ago where, quote, the Tea Party joins with Al-Qaeda. Now, everybody knows that the Tea Party is completely Islamophobic on average and is totally warmongering against the Middle East. They don't differentiate. It's one of their only faults, in my view. That is literally like saying Superman works for Lex Luthor or that Martin Luther King was a Grand Dragon. But it doesn't matter. They'll say the Tea Party works with Al-Qaeda. That's, I mean, look, they teach the Army at Fort Hood that George Washington wouldn't be welcomed in today's Army. George Washington founded the U.S. Army. And people say that's over the top. Saying you didn't build your businesses over the top. They are change agents, folks, totally frying everybody for a total takeover. I'm going to go to, I appreciate your call. I just look, I'm telling you, folks, the reason I'm freaking out on air every day now is because we got a chance to stop this. And when the globalists take over, they're going to come after everybody. They're going to definitely set me up. Where'd Alex go? Oh, he didn't pay his taxes, or he bounced a check, or, you know, he pulled a gun on cops. And it'll be an embedded intelligence group that pulls me over and executes me. That's how they do it. And you idiots that will execute me are going to be killed next. I mean, this is not a good situation. People have got to grow up in this country. I'm sick of it. We have had it so good for so long. We're like Native Americans that never ran into smallpox, so it would kill 95% of them, and only 5% of Europeans would die from it, because all the Europeans that would die before had already died. So people had genetic immunity. We politically do not have a history of real tyranny compared to other nations, so we're wide open to it. I want to let everybody know that this hour is brought to you by InfidelBodyArmor.com, and we will put that up on screen for TV viewers. Infidel Body Armor is super high-quality body armor. Oh, here's the headline out of mainstream news. New bill in Congress would ban private citizens from owning body armor. That's right. So, see, there you go. It's time to get your body armor. 888-608-6605, InfidelBodyArmor.com. Please don't forget MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex to find super high quality, non-GMO storable foods that last 20 years and are easily portable in their own special form of packaging. It's like those expensive plastic tote containers. Well, that's what they put the food in. But they get a really good deal on them, so you get a super low price. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. Let's hope we don't need our firearms and our ammo and our storable food and our water filters, and people should be stocking up on supplements as well at InfoWarsLife.com. So MyPatriotSupply.com or InfidelBodyArmor.com or InfoWarsLife.com. And let's go out with Road Warrior music, because let me tell you, this country goes into civil war, that's what it's going to look like. I'm not going to any FEMA camp, so don't tread on me. The warning's issued. Here's Congressman Ted Poe on Newsmax, powerful TV network. Man, they're hiring former CNN hosts, you name it. And I just love to have more new media covering things, talking about Al-Qaeda working, ISIS working with the drug cartels that now have operational control of large areas of the border. How about 60 miles into Arizona 5 years ago? They have signs up saying, don't enter this area. It's under the control of drug cartels. And our government has allowed this to happen while groping everyone at the airport. A new memo just came out confirming the TSA does let illegals fly with no ID. But your baby's diaper's getting checked. And Miss USA, they're going in your underwear. Let's go to this clip and then back to your calls.
Their opponents, is there synergy? Is there interaction? Is there a connection between the Mexican cartels and groups like ISIS?
My opinion is, yes, there seems to be at least talking to each other. How much? I don't know. But they're using, drug cartels use the same operational plan as terrorist groups do. They kill their opponents, they behead their opponents, they brag about it, and they have operational control of many portions of the southern border of the United States. Mexico does, the United States
That's the congressman. Now let's go back to Senator Inhofe last night on Fox 25 in Oklahoma City, saying they're planning to blow up a major city. Here it is.
And they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. But yes, it's really significant what's happening.
And he was talking about another subject there, bringing up something happening over in the Middle East and talking about how big it is they're planning to blow up a U.S. city. Whether that's true or not, he's being told that by the Intelligence Committee. They're getting us ready to be hit, saying they're going to hit us, while ISIS signs show up everywhere, and they let real jihadis run around and physically attack people in front of the White House just a few days ago. We have video of that. I want to go to Michael and John and Brian and others. And after we take a few more calls from military folks to get their take on the big picture, we will open the phones up for everybody. It's going to be open phones throughout the broadcast today. I want to get into some big economic news. Dollar demand falls against other currencies. That's Reuters. TSA letter admits illegals allowed to fly without ID. Huge news, Infowars.com. Microbial life found living on exterior of International Space Station. That's very interesting. The London Independent. We've got a bunch of other news about wanting to ban body armor. Physically, you can't even have it. That's now in Congress. Former Homeland Security Advisor, very, very true. ISIS is crossing the border. This is just some of the news. It's all coming up today. Let's go ahead and jam a call in the minute and a half we have left right now. Former Navy, Michael in New York. What's your take on this?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, nice to talk to you, Alex.
Nice to talk to you.
First time calling.
Welcome.
And I was down in Texas last year this time. My son graduated from the Air Force Base there. And I got to see Texas firsthand for the first time.
Well, welcome down to the state. New York's a pretty place as well.
Yeah, they say it's a crossroads of the world, but only if you're a liberal.
Exactly. What's your take on all this?
My father used to say there's different rules for different people, and that's the way the U.S. is going. Different rules for different people, and absolute power leads to absolute corruption. And those are my dad's words, and he was a World War II vet.
Does it make you sick to see Al-Qaeda being rebranded as ISIS, and our government wants to attack Syria that's done nothing?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's the way, around the end game, around to attack somebody else and start another problem in the world to create global, collapse, basically.
That's it, Michael. Great point. Thank you so much. John, Brian, others, stay with us. Second hour coming up.
Thank you for listening to
Don't forget,
GCN.
Subscribe to prisonplanet.tv.
Visit GCNlive.com.
See all the documentaries, the nightly news, 11 memberships for $5.95 a month. Well, if you just joined us, there's a bill moving ahead to ban body armor. ISIS is taking more hostages, killed 50-plus people today, blowing up a peaceful mosque. And our government says they want to attack Syria that's fighting the very same al-Qaeda group. They say that will defeat them, is to overthrow the government they're fighting. So it's getting Twilight Zone weird. We're having open phones today, wide open phones now, on any of the issues we've raised. The dollar being devalued on purpose, the police state, what's happening with ISIS, what do you think should be done? Obviously, they're a horribly unsavory, demonic group, but our government put them in place, prepared them to be able to infiltrate the whole world, and I've been predicting then attack the West, which is what the political class wants, because then they'll take all of our liberties, build up a Homeland Security force, a domestic army pointed at the Tea Party, which is what you now see happening openly. Again, it's a criminal globalist class using other criminal groups as the pretext to take all of our freedoms. John in Montana, former Army, what's your breakdown on this?
Yes, hi, Alex. My take on this whole blowing up a city thing is this. These guys are Agenda 21. They want to do this environmentally friendly, I would think. So I'm thinking maybe orbital tungsten drop rods. Popular Mechanics did an article on this, I believe, in 2005. And all these ISIS people can knock out power relays, cell phone towers, so the area around the city can't communicate out. And then ISIS can go in there and mop up. They go ahead and blow up something like, I don't know, barium. Then they go ahead and they can't show the bodies to anybody, the bodies that have probably been shot, the survivors of this drop rod. and they have their neat little package and whatever cover story they want.
That's the exact type of asymmetrical warfare operation they could launch, or they could be given a suitcase nuke and then blame it on the Russians. Anything's possible, but they're getting us ready. We're going to be hit by nukes. Give up all your rights when the nuke goes off. In fact, I keep forgetting to play it. We have the clip of Obama, what was it, 3-4 months ago, saying the number one thing he fears is a nuke going off, a mushroom cloud in New York City. So he opens the borders up while Al-Qaeda, that our government's armed, ISIS, is saying they're going to come across our border and they're coming to America. They were in Libya. They said we're going to Egypt and Syria next, and Iraq. They went there. Then they said we're coming to Europe and America. We're going to cut your heads off. We're going to take over the White House. And then they're allowed to operate. And then they use the public's call to bomb them. I'm never for these wars, but I'm for bombing Al-Qaeda and their convoys, and they're running around murdering Christians. But you notice now that's not happening. Let's go to that Obama clip. Here it is.
When it comes to our security, with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan, which is part of the reason why the United States, showing its continued international leadership, has organized a forum over the last several years that's been able to help eliminate that threat in a consistent way.
Now, their argument in a Nietzschean way, this is what they tell higher-level people who are involved in helping smuggle things in. They go, we're doing this with survival of the fittest to simulate attacks on America so that America will stand up and be strong. That's why we're going to let Al-Qaeda hit us. So we have a rightful place in the world to maintain order. But it's not even maintaining order. They want to teach our kids 2 + 2 = 5. The ruling elite want to dumb everybody down. They're not good. Even their cover story is a fraud. Anything else, John?
Yeah, well, with whatever nukes they want to use, they've got the individual markers in them. So whatever the enemy of the week is, they can go ahead and say, we'll use that nuke, blow up whatever city, and there you go. We have an attack on whatever enemy of the week we have.
That's right. They jacket it with different coatings of metal to then have the fingerprint of the weapon. Perfect to set up whoever they want to demonize. Well, if you just joined us, we have President Obama months ago saying his number one fear is a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. Last night, we have Senator Inhofe going on Fox News 25. The video's up on Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com. If you want to see it, the story's posted. And is saying that he's worried about ISIS, which is really Al-Qaeda or IS, blowing up a U.S. city. Only a nuclear weapon, atomic or hydrogen, is going to be doing that. And we now have the reports of ISIS, which is just, again, the new name of Al-Qaeda. Because we armed Al-Qaeda. That's who the group is to attack Assad. The military said no to it last year and got upset, so they renamed it IS. And now they want IS to hit us because then Homeland Security can grandstand and say, see, we need the NSA to spy on you, even though the NSA won't stop the attack. Watch. Just like 9/11, they were spying on everything, didn't stop anything. And just like 9/11, when Saudi Arabia is part of the group that attacked us, and the door was open for them, we will then attack Syria this time, just like we attacked Iraq last time. And just like Homeland Security now, according to, even before Bush left office, but it went into overdrive when Obama got in 7 years ago, that Homeland Security, 90+% of it is spent on the liberty movement, veterans, gun owners, the Tea Party. This whole thing is to suppress the American people. So the criminal political class can rob us 7 ways to Sunday and convert us to a total banana republic. U.S. Army to be used against insurrectionist Tea Party. That is in the Army manuals. Look it up. In Full Spectrum Operations in the Homeland, a vision of the future for the Army War College. And also, there's similar reports in Forbes, AP, you name it. Getting into some of the headlines from Infowars.com. Righteous rage. Ferguson residents fed up with martial law. Corporate media plays dumb on spread of radical Islam. Kurt Nimmo. Kiev accuses Russia of invading Ukraine again. Hasn't been true the last 4 times. Ferguson, a preview of America's burgeoning police state. Another special report. TSA letter admits illegals allowed to fly without ID. That's now confirmed, what we broke months ago. Research definitively proves TSA body scanners are useless. They're good to train you to be a slave, though. Government backs down as National Guard leaves Ferguson. U.S. begins selling Syrian intervention using ISIS pretext. And then up in the tiles in the other news area, below the top news area of Infowars.com, we have the Fox 25 video of Senator Inhofe talking about a U.S. city being destroyed. But first, Obama, 3 months ago, saying the main threat is a nuke going off in New York City. Boy, wouldn't Homeland Security love that? They could totally take over society. They're all lined up. They're already doing it, but they want to shut everything down. They've got the radio, TV, EAS takeover systems in. They've got the checkpoints set up, the armored vehicles ready, the FEMA camps activated, the borders imploded, just destabilizing the whole world. This is their plan, Cloward and Piven, Agenda 21. Let's go to that clip.
When it comes to our security, with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan, which is part of the reason why the United States, showing its continued international leadership, has organized a forum over the last several years that's been able to help eliminate that threat in a consistent way.
Now, 4 weeks ago, the White House put out a statement saying the world has seen unprecedented tranquility and stability under the global leadership of Barack Hussein Obama, known as our savior, according to Jamie Foxx, not according to me. But last week, Hagel, the Secretary of Defense, came out and said the whole world is, quote, blowing up. And I agree with that. And you know who the Wile E. Coyote is? Planting the bombs, pushing the plungers? Our government, George Soros, the globalist, NATO, is running around giving weapons to every radical group, whether they be Nazis, right-wing nationalists in Ukraine, whether it be jihadis of any stripe. I mean, this is bad. And only public ignorance of geopolitical factors and the players is causing this. I'm going to your calls, but I don't want to hear from men out there anymore and women that you can't figure this out. You say you can figure out all the sitcom people, all the vampire movie people. Guys can figure out all the sports scores, and guys will walk up to each other at the gym or in an elevator, or I'll hear guys at a restaurant arguing for like an hour with stats, throwing them out. Well, this team's got that, and this team's got this, and we've got weapons, and repeating everything from the War Channel, ESPN, where men are arrested in their development all day watching other men all excited, showing militarized planning about simulated warfare games. Little boys playing games. Little boys playing fantasy football. And I'm not judging you if you like to go watch a basketball game or football game or baseball game, or you like the Olympics. I like watching the sprinters. I like watching a good football game in overtime. But, man, I will not use my brain space on knowing all the factoids. And a lot of guys are like, man, you're not very manly. That's right. I like to know about almost every country I can, their basic history, how they interconnect with each other, what group is behind what historically, the old beefs, how the globalists are manipulating that using sociology, anthropology, psychology, archetypal, Jungian psychology, full spectrum dominance, the eugenics-based global plan, the technocracy, the breakaway civilization system that's already been developed, how far advanced that breakaway civilization is. It may be more than we know. In fact, it probably is more than we even know, 30 years advanced. These are epic, giant issues. So I'm almost as manly as some guy that can spout off all the football statistics and that'll bug his eyes out at you when you're walking through the store and wants you to get out of his way because he's bigger than you are. See, I'm not trying to act tough and manly. I'm trying to be a man and build a future for my family. I'm trying to navigate all the primitive manipulation and garbage to not be a primitive, to advance to the next level and try to save civilization. I'm not afraid of the big muscle-bound guy. I'm afraid I'll bash his brains out all over the ground. And I don't want to do that. I want him to grow up and be a man and try to save the republic. That's what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is not being fake macho idiots, but actually learning the facts, being men, learning how the world really works and saying no to it, learning how they game the economy. By the way, even if you're a cynical mercenary, do you know how much money you can make with the knowledge of how the stock market really works and with the knowledge of how markets really work? I mean, I generally, and people know this is true, can predict markets, you name it, months or years in advance, knowing how the globalists operate. Can you imagine if I just wanted to spend my time making money off those ideas? And I'm not bragging. I'm a regular guy who clicked archetypally to actually becoming informed about geopolitics and history, all because I read history books as a child and learned how the world really worked and found out how exciting and dynamic it was and decided that I didn't want to be a passive nobody who didn't exist and who was just a spectator who was programmed for my entire life. I want to live. I want to control my destiny. I want to be honorable. I want to return chivalry. I want to return exploration and trailblaze space colonies. I want honorable transparency in government. I want to go to the next level. And I know you do as well. You will not go to the next level knowing about the football scores. You will go to the next level learning about the history of Ukraine, learning about the history of the South, learning about the history of New York, learning about quantum mechanics, learning about what makes the globalists tick. Because when you study the globalists, you find out these people are the most wicked, cold, unhuman people you can imagine who have decided to use all this knowledge that can be used to empower humanity to annihilate humanity. Brian in Arizona. Then we'll go to Squirrel, Dr. Davis, Adam, Wendell, and others. Brian, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, thanks for getting me on. Alex, I was a Naval Academy graduate, former naval aviator. I've been nuclear qualified. I was also an airline pilot and one of our armed pilots. I've listened to you over the years with a little bit of cautious skepticism, but I have verified many of the points you're making today and throughout your last shows. It is coming true. The FEMA camps are for real. And the government, many of my classmates are still in the military, and the government is they look at the public like three categories. You got your hiders, your fighters, and your runners. And if you know which class the people fit in, they know how to deal with you. You've talked about the arming the local police, okay? So they're ready to fight us, okay? And they're outlawing, you know, victory gardens and everything else. So the people that are hiding, they're trying to take care of those people too. It's becoming...
Stay there. This is a really interesting call. Don't hang up, Brian. Thank you for calling in. I want to hear more from you. And yeah, they do profile people. And then we've got Squirrel, Dr. Davis, Adam, and Wendell. Stay there, Brian. I'm going to come right back to you on the other side. And what he's saying is so true. And again, just because you're in a uniform, just because you know all this, doesn't put you in the winning team. It puts you in the traitor team. And they're going to sell collapse scenarios so you think you're doing a good job when really you're playing to their fiddle. We're talking about the geopolitical global destabilization by the mega banks. That's who's behind it all. They've disarmed people worldwide. They're breaking up families worldwide. They want the dumbed down poor populations. They've got big robot factories producing the robots to replace most of the Chinese workforce, the U.S. workforce, the French workforce. And you could say, well, humanity's ugly, there's too many of us, and go along with that argument. The point is you're being targeted too. And they've decided to destabilize the country and bring in the National Stabilization Force. So we're talking to Brian in Arizona about the runners, the hiders, and the fighters. And he was saying, I guess he's talking to his folks that are still in the military, officers, And they're talking about all this that's going on. You were talking about the fighters. They've got militarized police locally. They've got the hiders. Please continue.
Yeah, the hiders, they're doing silly things like it's illegal to plant a garden over a certain size in your backyard. Those people that are going to hunker down, in Arizona, we have a lot of people, are gun owners here. So it's not going to be the first state to follow, for sure. But, everything you say is coming true. Watching this false flag race war they're putting on is ridiculous. I've watched a lot of the YouTube stuff. I asked a buddy of mine, former classmate, very high-level staff. Off the air, I'd be glad to tell you exactly who it is and what my source is. But this guy, I asked him, I said, these FEMA camps for real? And he asked me a question. He says, we have 100 million people on some form of subsistence, welfare, food stamps. He says, when the government checks stop, he says, what do you think these cities are going to look like? He says, what are you going to do with the people? That's what the camps are made for. They're going to put all these people, these people in the inner cities, they don't stock water, food. We say beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. That's what you got to stock. You got to have a bug-out plan, and you got to be ready.
To expand on that, you can look at the 100 million people on welfare and how destabilized things are and say, oh, see, this is reasonable. But it was all maneuvered for decades towards this point. And during the chaos, the system is training to take on Americans that will fight communism and socialism as the new political system to come out of the collapse. They plan to target us, shut us up as the counter-revolutionaries in their own words. This is from Bill Ayers, all of them. This is the doctrine of the Attorney General, to then bring us out with wealth redistribution and socialism on the other side. And so it is just a nightmare scenario. And I hope that your high-level source, I hope you can talk to them again and ask them, are they aware of that? And surely they know that almost all the training is to target what you just said, the hiders, the people that are self-sufficient. Look at all the movies, how they demonize anybody who wants to be self-sufficient and who is in any way a fan of freedom. What's your take on that?
Well, they've trained all of our sons to go over there in Iraq and Syria and other places, and they've done knock and talks with, and seized weapons and interrogated people. And these young Marines and Army guys are good at it. And Homeland Security made a mistake. Okay, when they announced that one of the enemies is returning veterans, and then right after that, there's a kill list for these guys. They're poisoning these guys. They're putting them on 10 different medications. These guys they've served their country. They just want to come back and get an education. And the next thing you know, they're so whacked out on a dozen different drugs. And that's their plan. They want to poison these guys. They want to kill them because they're a threat. Because these guys are going to be what we're going to need. The Patriots are going to need these guys that are highly trained and that can mobilize your neighborhood groups.
Well, Joe Biggs was in, heavy combat army units in Afghanistan. They would order them to take opiates, painkillers, for no reason, and said, oh, you're under stress, just to get them addicted so they could then declare them with some type of mental issue at the end of it. And so you can see how much they hate humans, how much the globalists hate soldiers and warriors, just like they won't be around any of the troops when they're armed, because they want robots, and that's the next phase. So while they've still got to use humans, they are setting you up with the vaccines, the drugs, all of it when you get out. Really good points. Brian, if you want to off-air talk to John Harmon, he's on the phone system, and give us any names or info. It'll all be off record, or give us anything else. If you can give us your number if you'd like. We'll be back with more calls. I've never made anything up on the show. And I don't get up here on the show and just tell you things that are my opinion. 95% or more of what I talk about is admitted. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation paid, you can pull up mainstream news articles, Times of India, you name it, to forcibly inoculate, the government there makes them do it, the entire country with polio vaccine. And in 1 year, 64,000 people were paralyzed from it. They don't call it polio, though, when you get it from the vaccine. They call it, oh, they got paralysis. Now, why do I bring that up right now? I bring that up now because who do you think these people are? I know who Bill Gates is. His father is a top eugenicist that works for the Rockefeller Foundation and was in secret army intelligence and is the head of Planned Parenthood. He is, last time I checked, the financial chairman of the entire empire. Do you know that IBM was set up as a eugenics trust with the express mission of creating a worldwide race-based system and funded Adolf Hitler? Do you know that Bill Gates is an IBM front? You can go, journalists have gone and looked into this and gone, no one had this info. How did you know it? Because I've learned how they run their operations. It's all fronts, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I can see their perspective. All these giant populations, all these people, kill them. All these poor people in India and Africa and all. But they're coming into Western areas and trying to inject healthy, happy, white, black, Hispanic, Asian kids with vaccines with cancer viruses in them that'll give them cancer 20 years down the road. They're putting fluoride in all our water. And of course they are. I don't want to kill those Africans. I don't want to kill those poor Indians living in squalor. They are overpopulated in some areas. But you can't cull them like animals because the minute you do that, you dehumanize everybody. But so many yuppies come to me and they go, Alex, there are too many people, mainly liberals. You get with a liberal professor and they will basically go, hey, man, yeah, I hear your show. I know it's true. What do you think we're going to do? Well, there's no resources. We got to reduce the population. It's a battle we can't win. The Earth's carrying capacity has already been reached. Humans are like a plague. There's nothing to stop us from getting all the resources and blah, 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 blah. While the globalists suppress new technologies, while the globalists do everything they can to keep the dirty technologies in place. I've studied what they do, and they've got an operating system they claim they're doing. But it's worse than what they're saying. I mean, who can go and give Indian children shots that brain damage them and attack their whole nervous system and are full of cancer viruses, SV40 and others, look it up, that embed in the body's DNA with the RNA and kill you when your hormones dip at a certain age? I'm going to go to your calls and shut up. It's just that that's only one story. It's beyond what I could ever tell you. You can't be told about the Matrix. You're going to have to see it. And what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to know about this and want to survive and just join the establishment. And get on elevators and go to the mall and see families with little kids and see pregnant women and not warn them not to take vaccines and just not have my family take them. Do you think any of the rich people or any of the elites eat GMO or unfiltered water or take vaccines? It's come out in the news. The German elite, the British elite, the Chinese elite, the Russian elite, the U.S. elite, the Israeli elite, none of them take any of it on record. Monsanto CBC, 1999, confirmed again 2 years ago in other news articles, they don't allow GMO in their cafeterias for their scientists. I'll say that again. The guys stacking the genetic traits and putting the Trojan horses in, because it's not just the trait they're telling you about in the food, in the canola, in the soybeans, in the corn, in the wheat. They won't eat it. And I've done reports where I show a stack of mainstream news articles where Chinese communists have secret organic farms and drink filtered water but don't want the public to know. German elite have secret farms and don't take the vaccines, or in dangerous situations have safe, clean ones that are classified. Oh, yeah, they really have good vaccines. They won't let us have them. People go, you don't believe that we could be inoculated and get acquired immunity through that. You don't believe in science. No, I know there are real vaccines out there that may still have some side effects, but if there's Ebola or smallpox or something, I want it. But I'm not going to take some shot from these devils. And what got me thinking about this was the callers talking about how they're attacking our military with the drugs and the vaccines. Oh, yeah. Almost everyone I know who's been in the military from Vietnam on up, it didn't matter if they were football linebackers and you know, sports enthusiasts, they die young. They have incredible health problems because of the Agent Orange, the vaccines, the DU, all of it. And they always deny the treatment, and they always put soft kill into the troops. I'd say troops get about 5 times the soft kill, if I had to look at the numbers over the years, that the general public gets. I mean, almost everybody I know, guys that were the star football player in high school and had a perfect grade point average and, you know, go and join special forces and they're 30 years old with all their organs failing. The Navy SEALs, they blew up in that helicopter because they knew there was no bin Laden raid. They went and killed his body double. We even know the guy's name. I've had the families on. Years after I told you, I talked to Navy SEALs and their families a week after it happened. And, man, I got death threats when I went on air. When I went on air and said that it was a body double and that it was a fake raid, and they blew up the helicopter to try to take them out, and then the rest of them got loaded on one and blown up, and then I'd been told that by a Navy SEAL and then separately by a Navy SEAL's father who came to my dad because he knew me and told my dad. Days after. Do you think I like going on air and telling you the government killed those Navy SEAls? You think I want to be killed? I have a responsibility to tell you this information. So believe me, I'm not making up missing nukes from Dias. Okay? I don't know what they're going to do with them. I don't know if they were dummy and they weren't real. I hope that's the case. Look, I'm trying to believe this government isn't pure evil. I'm trying to find some reason to think this isn't a lost cause. Because, man, what's on the other side of this evil is Satan. I'm going to go to your phone calls. Squirrel and Adam and Dr. Davis and Shauna and Ben and others. Squirrel, thanks for holding in Wisconsin. What is your topic you want to bring up? We're now totally open lines at 800-259-9231. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. Let's say that this warning is true and they achieve New World Order with maximum efficacy in depopulation and controlled centralization. What is the plan for resistance after the fall?
Oh, it'll be phased in over the next few decades. They're just going to arrest their political opposition and then arrest anybody that ever criticizes policies. And now your kids will be sent and raised in government dormitories, and you'll be forced with more inoculations. And if you go out and protest and say half the block's got diabetes, a third of the block's dying of cancer, the government did it, don't take the shots when the clinic truck comes by. You know, if somebody has a convulsion after they're given a Gardasil shot and you complain, they will say that you are destabilizing the country, and they will come and arrest you and take you to a forced labor camp where you'll be shot up and given GMO till you're worked to death. Then you'll be taken in, you know, near death and euthanized by a trendy who thinks they're helping you. I mean, that's the plan.
I was asking, what is the plan for resistance after the fall?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here 24/7 just watching enemy operations unfold and desperately screaming my head off, trying to tell people this isn't a game, it isn't a joke. Two is by land, one is by sea, or one is by land, two is by sea, whatever it was. The New World Order technocrats are here. The police state's here. They're not coming. I mean, it's all I can do to just track what they're going to do next and understand their psychology, their modus operandi. I mean, it's just pure evil. I mean, I go to the shopping mall or the grocery store and I see a pregnant woman and I walk up and I just say, I don't mean to get in your business, but you need to look up the statistics. You're not supposed to take shots when you're pregnant. Until 5 years ago, they knew this. They tell you now to take it. I don't want your baby to have problems. These vaccines don't even protect you. Please research it. And I do that because it's a responsibility. I don't want to go talk to people. I don't want to give them my energy. I'm exhausted at the grocery store. But I've got a responsibility to do it. All I can do is fight on air and fight in person and just put it all in God's hands and pray for guidance. We should repent. We should stop watching all the television. We should get back to basics. We should think about your ancestors. And we've all got the instincts, the programming God gave us. They're with us as well. I mean, it's incredibly sophisticated. And we can get those memories of what to do. And not just what to do, to be leaders with people around you. They will see that you've got the tribal leadership of truth, that you're trying to lead them out of Egypt. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We have to spiritually, psychologically, in our gut, economically, begin to pull out of Babylon. In the world, but not of it. And, of course, you're going to be in the world like no other at the fake churches that are there to grab the good people that resonate with God and want the truth and want the justice. They're the fake counterfeit to capture you under government supervision with the preacher as an operative of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, CIA, or Justice Department, gauging everything you're doing, running exsanguination programs, trying to break up families, get the women's money. I mean, it's just criminal psyop operations we're facing. I mean, if people knew the full magnitude of the darkness that's here, they have arranged and recruited millions of smart people who know what they're part of and are working with the evil, mainly out of just worldly greed, but also out of fear. Because the fear of this, a lot of people decide to join with it. And that's what they're doing. They are kneeling to Satan. They are taking Satan's hand. They are embracing Satan. And even if you don't believe in Satan, the archetype of Satan, betrayal, wickedness, fraud, lies, poverty, sorrow, just all the wages of the sin, all of the death, nuclear weapons, bioweapons, Ebola, open borders, collapse, poverty, foolishness, rioting, arrogance, bullying police. All of it poured out against us. So you ask what we do, we see the evil. We recognize it. Seeing it will immediately, the evil just parts around you like the sea opening up for Moses. But you have to see it. And then when you see it, the enemy knows that you see it, and their minions that are compartmentalized know that you see it. And it's the 100th monkey syndrome. They've proven, an island 5 miles away from rhesus monkeys with other rhesus monkeys in a facility, if they teach the rhesus monkeys how to do a trick or how to get into a container that took them 5 years to learn, within days, the monkeys 5 miles away suddenly know how to open the box. You understand that? Just knowing this will bring them down. Do you understand that? Because it's all a spiritual choice. It's already all in front of us. The tyranny is already all in the open. I shouldn't even have to show people the tyranny and chronicle the tyranny. It's prima facie, or on its face. And so if people can just be told that it's up to their free will to witness the evil and the manipulation for themselves, and then if they make the spiritual decision to not be in denial and not be in delusion, then their eyes will be opened. Do you see what I'm saying? Caller's gone. Adam in South Carolina, thanks for holding her on the air.
Hey, what's up, Alex? How you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Hey, man. I live in South Carolina in a city called Rock Hill, man. I'm calling about a couple things. One is this martial law thing that's going on, man. This is a sob story, man. I kind of want you to know just the gravity of the lives that you've touched, man. Me, right now, I'm currently homeless, man, but I'm still a part of the resistance. I'm still a part of the revolution. I got nothing to my name, man. Pretty much all I got is a job and a girlfriend, man. I'm in such a tough spot right now. I just been staying with a friend.
But you're not in a tough spot. They condition people that if they don't have monetary success, that you're a failure. You are there. You may be the person or someone like you that catches the globalists planning the atomic weapon and then getting it out before they can stop us on an international system. That's why they want to mop up every country before they start really running bad stuff, because the truth could go out in any country and bring them down. It could be a homeless person who brings them down. It could be a lawyer on an airplane seeing them put terrorists on the aircraft. It could be anybody. I mean, do you understand that? Just the fact that you're awake is what's valuable. The fact that you've got your soul, that you're not under their control, that's what matters, brother.
Exactly, and Alex, the truth is, man, is ever since I've become awake, man, these guys, honestly and truly, they have been following me, man. They've been following me. They've been following my friends. They're harassing us out here. I protested about a couple days ago for Mike Brown. Downtown in my city, man, we protested. We were out there holding signs. Cops were driving by, Alex, taking pictures, laughing. I mean, they've been parking outside of my friend's house, watching them.
Well, let me explain what happens. You can debate all the different sides of the Mike Brown thing. So you're used as a simulant in your protest for them engaging in secret police activities, but next year it'll be the Tea Party. So I want the cops to remember that they should be proud of people that are willing to come out and protest for something they think's wrong. Even if it turns out that Brown was a thug and charged the police, I think the evidence is mounting. It's like the guy that has the knife. They call and go, he's got a steak knife. You see him pull the steak knife out. He gets up on the wall like he's about to lunge at the cops. The guy was suicidal, the second guy they shot. Still, see, it's not both sides are wrong. People always think of one side being right or the other side being wrong, or vice versa. No, it's all part of a sick, evil culture of young people willing to walk up with steak knives at cops, and then witnesses lying and saying, no, they shot him in cold blood again. Meanwhile, there was cell phone video and witnesses in a 911 call. So the cops are being lied about, so they start lying. And see, it becomes a vicious cycle of corruption. It's just a total mess, but I hear you. I hear you. And then the police are putting you in an intelligence database. I mean, pretty soon everybody will be in one of those. So what if you're put on a list? Believe me, they got profiles on all the cops, too. How do you take over? You manipulate the world into crises. You have the institutions set up to deal with those crises. And so those institutions expand their power. And you do it over and over again towards the aim of a scientific dictatorship. And the globalists openly say in their writings, and again, if you want to see the proof, watch my film, Endgame, A Blueprint for Global Enslavement. In that documentary, we show all their quotes, the books, the news articles, the video clips where royalty, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they're all on record. They argue, hey, we're in control. That's social Darwinism that the robber barons, as everyone knows, totally adopted 150 years ago, 160 years ago now, in Europe, in England, in the United States. This is all mainline history. And they said, we will scientifically develop systems of social control. We will take control of the future destiny of humanity. And you read the stuff Galton wrote in 1855 and stuff, the father of eugenics, and the rest of them, and Darwin, and all of them, I mean, they were hyper smart and hyper evil and hyper anti-human. And they said they would reduce world population then. They've always had this plan, and they've been working for over 160 years total to bring it into fruition. But there are other competing forces. But a lot of people argue, hey, there are too many people. Okay, but you're in the crosshairs now, too. Just because you agree with that doesn't get you out of the trick. I want to go to Dr. Davis and Shawana and others here in just a moment. Mike in Canada says if a nuke goes off, we still go to work. Yeah, they're going to tell you to go to work. Briefly, please remember that this hour is brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com. 888-253-2400/Alex. Super high quality, non-GMO, storable foods. 866-225-0927. I think people are crazy if they don't have storable foods. This is where I get mine. Great customer service. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. And finally, OcuPower goes along the same lines as a lot of stuff that's in the DNA Force. Meant to rejuvenate, you name it. It's all the known compounds that are organic to help the eyes, to detoxify. But it works on other parts of the body as well. It's $29.95. It's very affordable. And again, this formula, the amount of product we put in it, nobody else that I know of does this. The formulators and the major companies we use that have the best records to private label and produce these original products for us are just amazed by what we're doing. And it's turning a lot of heads in the industry. So when you purchase OcuPower, open your eyes at InfoWarsLife.com. You are supporting the InfoWar as well. OcuPower was designed to nutritionally assist the natural function of healthy eyes. Suggested use, take 1 serving, 1 capsule daily by mouth or as recommended by your physician or healthcare provider. And you can read about all of the organic, herbal, and other extracts that are in it, known to turbocharge the eyes at InfoWarsLife.com. We sold out of 1/5 of it yesterday in one day. Didn't sell out in 4 hours like the DNA Force, but because people in the nutrition area knew when they read that label how incredibly affordable it was for what was in it. And that it's the organic types that only a couple companies have. Well, each company has each ingredient. You had to go buy it from them to be able to produce it. And more of that's reportedly coming in, probably looks like 10 weeks. We're behind on it, actually. So sorry, but that will come back in. But we've got the X2, Super Nascent Iodine, and so much more at InfoWarsLife.com. The OcuPower, you name it, your purchase supports the broadcast. It makes it possible. 888-253-3139. All I'm trying to do is tell you the truth, nothing more. To quote Neo from The Matrix, I'm going right to Dr. Davis and then right to the other callers. Back in 70 seconds. Third hour, straight ahead, Infowars.com. I'm not exaggerating. I probably got 200 or more articles here I haven't hit yet. I'm going to smatter a few into the next hour. But I really want to do what I was able to do when I was first on talk radio. I was put on a station right when it went to talk. The first week it went from heavy metal, rock and roll, and classic rock, it's called Z-Rock, to talk. I was put on it. They had G. Gordon Liddy, Howard Stern, and they had local shows on in the afternoon and at night. None of them could get calls the first week. The program director liked me, had seen my Access TV show, put me on, and instantly all 10 phone lines loaded up. They had 10 phone lines loaded. And so I thought it was really neat. And the program director's like, more calls, more calls. So I could take 50 calls an hour. And it was actually good radio. For years, I cannot break the habit I've gotten into to maybe taking 3 or 4 calls an hour, which people get time, and I go to them. And Limbaugh probably takes 3 or 4 an hour, too. Because we want to talk. I mean, we got stuff to say. We're not bored being here. Nothing worse than listening to a talk show host you can tell struggling or is nervous. Or unfortunately, I'm the opposite. I wish I wasn't so confident. I would do a better job. I forget I'm on air sometimes. Just start babbling mindlessly or telling jokes because I kind of go wherever my brain's taking me. But I'm in a serious mood today, so I want to, and of course, I always say this, the calls will be so good, some will be bad, that I'll let them go for 5 minutes apiece. But just have what you want to say ready, say it, I'm going to go to the next person, because I want to take a bunch of calls today. 800-259-9231. Dr. Davis in Florida, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling, sir.
Great. We spoke a few months ago when I was talking about my experience with radiation in Fukushima. And at the time, I'd mentioned that I wanted to really come back at some point and talk about solutions, because there are many, many people out there who are awake and fully aware, but they are not consumed by fear. In fact, it's really more of a motivating factor in order for them to find solutions and to work towards that. And
tell us some of the solution ideas.
Well, my company is a small startup biotech company called Ogenics. And
yeah, didn't we have you on as a guest?
You have, yes.
Yeah, okay. How you doing?
we're doing fine. Thank you so much. And calling today because I'm a little bit frustrated with one of our solutions, but I'll get to that in a second. But about a year ago, we took one of our drugs that is a converted natural product and introduced that to the Fort Detrick group at the U.S. Army. And there's some outstanding scientists and people that work there. And they began a series of experiments against Ebola and a number of the other, Marburg and Rift Valley fever, and a number of the different extremely deadly pathogens that they have at their level 4 facility at Fort Detrick. And they had results that were unprecedented. This one drug was killing all of those different types of viruses, all the different families of viruses, and it was doing it without any apparent toxicity to the normal healthy cells that were within the tissue itself. So these were tests that were done in petri dishes, not in live animals. That was going to be the next step. And just as we were given authorization to move to live animals, all of a sudden Fort Detrick went radio silent. And this was just weeks before the Ebola epidemic was announced, this newest outbreak with this particular strain of virus, which is, of course, very, very deadly. And since that time, we have tried without any success in terms of reaching the people in charge of the project, as well as some of the outreach that we've made to a number of the organizations. I've made...
well, yeah, that's because the system wants to promote the Bill and Melinda Gates Monsanto Ebola vaccine. They don't want to, sit there and talk to all the U.S. companies that have solutions. They just warehouse things. Write an article for us or some info and send it over. It was good to hear from you. I appreciate your call, Dr. Davis. Interesting interview. I think Leanne interviewed him. It was pretty good stuff. Pretty informative. Shauna, Mike, Bubba, Ben, your call straight ahead. We'll be back. Ex-CIA officer, there are ISIS sleeper cells in the U.S. It's up on Infowars.com. Senator Inhofe says brace for U.S. cities to be blown up by IS, formerly known as Al-Qaeda. They changed the name when it got embarrassing when our government was arming them. Turned them loose in Syria and Iraq. And now the Marines have issued a threat to ISIS, force recon. Do you really think you stand a chance in this country? Well, of course they do. They're going to be protected. And you're compartmentalized. And so they've got a joke saying, warning, 72 virgin dating service, apply here. And I understand they want to go kill them. But you're being set up. You'll be deployed against some low-level conscripts that Al-Qaeda controls, just like in 2001 in Afghanistan. They'll be well-paid, move to the next country to destabilize. But I know that doesn't fit into the narrative. It just feels good to me. Think you're heroes. And you do go fight really bad people, so I can say you are heroes. But a real hero would understand the PSYOP and do something about it and save the country before they allow ISIS to hit us, or the globalists do it and ISIS takes credit and then they take more of our liberties. Homeland Security is pointed at your grandpa, Marines. It's pointed at George Washington. It's pointed at private property. It's pointed at the Second Amendment, and that's all on record now. But I said it 13 years ago because I know the globalist game plan. I read the Rand Corporation documents. You can read them too. You can learn about it. And there's these Navy SEALs on here wearing skull masks. I mean, give me a break. Or you think that psychologically scares the, quote, enemy? That's why they're off chopping heads off. You got the Mexican drug cartels wearing skull masks, our troops doing it, Al-Qaeda running around chopping heads off. It just makes me want to throw up. Meanwhile, these Marines will end up being cops going up against the Tea Party folks. Or if you don't join that, then they'll go up against you. It's like you'll either be attacked by the police and the military, if you're former military, or you'll join it. I mean, it's just a sick, treasonous mess. Shauna in Kentucky, thanks for holding. You're on the air worldwide. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. God woke me up this morning to give you a message concerning ISIS, and I don't have TV, but I listen to you on the phone all the time. So I have a clarification question for you real quick before I can give you this message. Is ISIS spelled I-S-I-S?
Ma'am, I don't really fully understand this, but they've put out a bunch of names to confuse people. It's Al-Qaeda in Iraq, that was allowed and armed to go in and attack Syria. Then they changed it to ISIS to confuse the public, and now just Islamic State. So, yes, it's spelled ISIS.
Okay, so ISIS, and this is what God showed me, so I'm going to read it because this is what happens here, Alex. This is baby code. ISIS is baby code for the New World Order and the globalists.
Baby toad.
Baby code. I mean, they did, like you said, they killed one of the Navy SEAL sons. He was a cryptologist. They went after our cryptologist. But I'm going to tell you this baby code very quickly.
Baby code or baby toad?
Baby code. Anybody can understand this, Alex.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm having trouble hearing. Baby code. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, baby code. A is equal to 1. B is equal to 2. Okay? I is equal to 9. S is equal to 19.
Oh, yeah, no, it calculates out to Satan. It calculates out to 9/11. It's obviously a globalist code. ISIS, he gets into all their Babylon mystery religion garbage in Egypt. Yes, absolutely. It is super Illuminati stuff in our face. And you're saying God showed that to you?
Yes, he did. In fact, he said that if you put the 919, the IS, and then the 919 underneath the IS, you have 9/11 4 different ways. That's very big to them. They're obsessive.
No, you did. The globalists are obsessed with numerology, and what you're saying has been pointed out. It does come out to 9/11 4 different ways, which is just over the top, and that's why they chose that name. It's a big globalist joke. The name Al-Qaeda just means the base, the computer program at the CIA headquarters of radical Islamicists they were paying. Very interesting call. I thought you were kind of goofy at first. I apologize. But no, what you're saying is you're right. That is what it comes out to. What else did you want to say?
Okay, if you flip that over, because they're very into it. They love to turn their 9s and 6s over. They did that in White House Down when they flipped the president's vehicle over. If you flip it over, Alex, you have 616, 616. You add those together, you got 213. And this
well, you're right. It's like Pixar puts secret codes in their movies. Disney does. Yes, and this is all a secret language for the Illuminati to communicate with each other. I mean, that's what it is. Just like the gangs have their graffiti and other people do, this is their communication. I really appreciate you calling. She's right. At first, I thought she was schizophrenic or something because the phone was hard to hear, and I was like, baby toad. I apologize, ma'am. Thank you for holding to tell us that. Yeah, no, ISIS is just a pure rebranding so that when it comes out, our government funded them, people go, well, that's IS, not Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Ben in Missouri, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, it's good to speak with you again. I had a couple points. I'll get through them quickly. First of all, I met Joe Biggs and Jakari Jackson in Ferguson last week. They're really, really awesome guys. I really enjoyed hanging out with them over lunch.
Aren't they both men's men? It's great to work with great guys like that. They're both class acts.
They really are. Yeah, they really are. The thing that struck me about that was the fact that they were streaming on an iPhone, which the reason why it struck me was because it made me kind of realize that anybody can really be a journalist who really wants to, and people should start doing so. That was the point number one. Point number two is this beheading video. I have this feeling, and I have seen lots of beheading videos just because, you know, that's, I don't know, maybe it's my macabre side appealing to me or something, but I think that video is a little bit too well done, and it is kind of coincidental to me that as the guy is sawing the guy's head off with the knife, and sorry to be graphic to all the listeners, but as he's sawing his head off with the knife, they cut immediately to the head on top of a body. I mean, it looks like a horror movie, but I guess even if it was real or if it's not real, it doesn't matter.
Well, I've seen the full video. So a lot of people say, oh, it's fake because it cuts. No, that's what the news basically put out and what got edited. It looks very cinematic out there in the dunes in the desert. They do all that to be cinematic, to get more crazies to come join them. It's probably real. We know there's been some fake beheadings put on by university students and others a few years ago. We know that hoaxes have been done as well. And Al-Qaeda's done hoaxes, you know, launching chemical attacks to blame it on the Syrian government and Syrian army. So you could be right. I appreciate your call. Great points. Let's talk to Bubba in Virginia. You're on the air.
Alex, thanks for taking my call. I just have a couple of points, too, I'd like to address real quick. One is, we all know how hard 22 ammunition is to find nowadays. So the other day I was actually in a store, and they had several boxes of 22 out, so I was kind of surprised. So I asked the person working there, I said, let me see some of the 22. And the guy says, well, make sure you take a good look at it before you buy it. So I said, what's wrong with it? He goes, it's made out of tin. So because they shut down all of our smelting plants over here, we're buying tin ammunition, while in China they're making the good copper and lead stuff. And the thing is...
That's right. The regulations, I talked about this yesterday, how they're shutting down our beef production. The regulations are so hardcore, there is not one lead-producing facility in the United States that is key to all industrial major activities. We are industrially being set up, and now the ammo we're getting is total crap that doesn't even fire right in the firearms. And now Obama is blocking importation of ammo. You see how that's a checkmate. I mean, this is incredible. And it's not just the ammo, it's everything. They are destroying the country when you look at it as an economist. Go ahead.
So the next thing I want to bring out is all this situation in Ferguson. What this reminds me of is a lot of stuff what happened over in Iran back in the 50s with Kermit Roosevelt going over there and hiring all these thugs and stuff to basically overthrow the government. You can see a lot of the same similarities going on in Ferguson.
Yeah, that's Operation Ajax. In fact, thanks for reminding me. They then double-crossed the radical Muslims who helped bring them to power in the 1953 Operation Ajax. Great point.
Yep. The next thing I'd like to point out is the plug for y'all with the iodine. When I was younger, I lived in New Braunfels right down the road from y'all, and I worked at a place where we raised pigs. So the pigs that were born in the farrowing crate...
Hold on, I want to hear this on the other side. Will you stay a little bit longer, Bubba?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. That's what my sister calls me, is Bubba. That's my nickname. So then it stuck with my parents, and I'm called Bubba. That's a little secret nobody knew. We're going to come back and talk to Bubba on the other side, and then we're going to talk to Mike, Jason, Kyle, Mark, and others. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.com. Let's go ahead and go back to Bubba. Bubba, you were telling a story about hogs down in New Braunfels, quaint little German community south of Austin, north of San Antonio, where you grew up. Go ahead and finish your story.
Great place to grow up. So anyhow, it's a kind of a plug and a concern that I have because, like I was saying, so I worked at a place and we were raised hogs. Well, the ones that were born in it's called a farrowing crate. They weren't born out on the ground. Pretty soon, like within the first week of them being born, we'd give them an iodine shot. Well, when I first started working, I was like, why do you give them an iodine shot? And I said, well, because normally they get it out of the ground and from sucking on their mother, to get it up from the dirt and everything. So you have to give them the iodine shot. That helps our immune system and everything else. Well, so the iodine you get, I buy it. I've been buying it since you've had it and everything. Great stuff. A concern, like I said, that I have as well is the fact that anymore, most of our livestock, pigs, chickens, you name it, they're all raised internally in a cage. So they're not on the ground, so they're not getting that iodine in their system. So we're not getting the iodine from the meat products that we buy either because they're all, fed GMO foods and everything else and not raised naturally at all.
Well, that's right. So, any farmer, any medical doctor, anybody, if you go back 50, 60 years ago, everybody knew about iodine. The Chinese government puts it in their water. They have it added in areas that have iodine deficiencies in the soil. And our government, though, puts the bad halogens in the water instead. So it's a perfect storm. And that's why thyroid problem in women in this country is just epidemic. Look, what we're saying is fact here. The government knows we have iodine deficiencies. They've lowered the allowance they say take down to nothing. Under the UN Codex Alimentarius, they are openly setting it up where they're going to lower the allowances even lower and then not let you get vitamins or minerals that are above that and make it controlled substances. Just, and if government was doing that on one or two things, it'd be like, oh, they're just idiots. No, man, they're doing it on everything. I worked for a large animal vet. He'd go out and say, your cattle need more minerals. And he'd tell them what mineral mix to buy. they won't tell anybody what's going on around here. That's why we have the InfoWars Health products, the InfoWars Life products, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the X2 Nascent Iodine. It's the best out there in my view, bar none. Try it compared to others, folks. It's just incredible. And I'm not differentiating. I mean, we made the iodine market big again. We're not even in competition with the competition. We're really trying to have a revolution here of waking people up. We've already had big companies try to buy us out, want to put it in shampoo and stuff. And just quite frankly, we don't have the supply to be able to even do that. So the whole system knows about all this stuff. And I'm just here to popularize what was known. So I'm really glad you told us that story. A lot of times they give even more minerals to cows. I remember hearing Large Animal Vet I work for talk about this when a bad freeze is coming. Because cows can live in sub-zero temperatures, but if it's like 40 below, like Nebraska, inside a barn, they can still die sometimes. And so when cold weather's coming, they have a certain mix they try to really accelerate to give to the cows. And then when they have the minerals, they don't die. So, I mean, look, having a higher intake of a wide spectrum of minerals must be important if veterinarians 100 years ago were saying, give your cows this salt mix, this mineral mix, before the cold weather gets here so they don't die. This is all known. Anything else?
It's just, a lot of those arts are being lost, too, because the way they're dumbing everybody down. So a lot of those arts are being lost. How to can food, how to take care of yourself, how to do things, how to grow your own garden things. Those are all becoming a lost art. That's why it's really important for people, I know your listeners, most of them are part of your work.
I think we lost that caller. Well, thank you, sir. We're going to be right back on the other side. Thank you, Bubba. Yes, we should do a whole show on the lost arts. Everything, all the basic knowledge that allowed humans to survive is being taken away. We're being taught Walmart and McDonald's and a MRAP.
We're on the march.
Will save us.
The Empire's
That's all
on
you
the
need.
run.
Is an iPad,
Alex Jones,
some wireless,
and the GCN
some
Radio
GMO,
Network.
and some brain cancer. And then everything's as happy as a pig, and you know what? I think it's about time to get Dave Mustaine back on. So I know I was listening today. I was talking to him on text this morning, and Billy Corrigan. I was talking to him on text. I'm not name dropping. I want to get those guys on the air, but I don't want to bug them to come on air, but I am big fans. By the way, I've said I want to get some more Megadeth and more Smashing Pumpkins in the bumpers. I had Smashing Pumpkin years ago in the bumpers, but it's like strata. What we don't listen to for a long time or what's older gets like left, and then whatever we put in newer ends up getting played. I'm not complaining. We need to do that. And I've psychoanalyzed myself. I tend to get into the third hour, start joking around, having some fun. Because after about 2.5 hours of being serious, goofy. After about 2.5 hours being serious, on average, my brain just can't be serious anymore and just goes into R&R mode and starts having fun. So I apologize. Because there I am talking about nukes going off in the U.S., and I'm singing along with Billy Idol, making a joke out of it. I don't think it's a joke. I'm totally upset. The globalists will grab total power out of this attack, and I'm starting to think it's going to be atomic or nuclear. And we've shown a lot of evidence of that. Inhofe says that ISIS has got stuff to destroy a whole U.S. city. What do you think does that? Obama says his #1 fear is a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan. You got all the preparations, and I said a year ago, 6 months ago, and a month ago, I said it every week. They're going to let ISIS take over the Middle East, and they're going to attack Europe and attack the United States and shoot down airplanes with the heat-seeking missiles they've been given. And I will be attacked when it happens, probably arrested or killed. I mean, this isn't like they're just going to demonize me going into the future. I mean, because it'll be so powerful that I've already exposed that the government's behind this, that they're not going to want me running around when all this happens. Of course, under the new EAS system, they'll just turn on deployed against whoever they want. You won't be going to the Drudge Report. You won't be going to WorldNet Daily. You won't be getting Rush Limbaugh even. People ask what's going to happen when the nuke goes off. We got Mike in Canada asking that question. People will be so hurt when there's 100,000 dead in the crater zone, 200, 300,000 radiated around it. That's a small one at ground zero level. Let's say it's a big one. Let's say they blow up New York, kills 5 million people in the epicenter, wounds another 5 million. everything collapses. They say, oh, the dollar went under and everything because we were hit and the Russians were with Al-Qaeda. I mean, you can just write the script. And it'll be, I don't care if Alex Jones predicted it all. Arrest him. How dare him say. I mean, people will just get into this primitive mode of, I want to kill somebody. And the average conservative will salute Obama. And Obama will say, turn your firearms in, and you're going to turn them in. Yes, sir. Do whatever they say. Because you love it. Talking about mainline people, just buy into whatever's comfortable to believe. Just like 16-year-old girls would get in the car with Ted Bundy because he was wearing a suit and tie and driving a little cute little non-threatening car. He told the police why he picked it to be non-threatening. Like Warren Buffett's always eating ice cream and, I'm just a sweet little man. I'm not a eugenics black op commander with secret military bases that I run. Oh, yeah. Up in Nebraska. Oh, ice cream. I'm non-threatening. Get in the car with me. I mean, what a sick joke. It's the same thing with the NPR on the non-threatening. All Things Considered, brought to you by the Annenberg Foundation, CPB, Ford Foundation, and Rockefeller Brothers Trust for a better world. Oh, they're so liberal. Oh, sleepy. Oh, nice, quiet, non-threatening voice. Everything is wonderful. Everything is awesome when you're part of a team. Everything is trendy when you're part of the dream. You can also do a version where everything is racist when you disagree with your government. Everything is racist. Everything is terrorist. Unless you're a real terrorist, then we give you heat-seeking missiles. Can we queue up Everything is Awesome? Let's go to the phone calls. Mike in Canada says, nuke goes off. Do we still go to work? Oh, yes. They're going to order you in other regions. Go to work, shop, show you're strong, volunteer to be part of the strike forces. We're sure Al-Qaeda did it. IS. And they may have been working with the Tea Party and some of the radical groups, but Russia may be involved as well. Luckily, we're massing troops on their border. Get behind the official story, or you're for murdering everyone. But I'm sorry, Mike. You wanted to know, or you wanted me to tell you my opinion? Go ahead.
I just had a terrible thought while listening to you. Imagine if over 230 years ago, the America that is today founded America. Imagine how terrible it would be by now. I mean, thank God that at least we're becoming aware.
Well, that's right. It wasn't perfect back then, but compared now, it was the age of chivalry, the age of men compared to the age of fake men and cowards. But it would never have been successful. There were plenty of countries founded on lies and total fraud. We were only founded on partial lies and fraud, but on the greatest free market experiment ever done, and more liberty than any other country. That's why we had success. We wouldn't be who we were today if we didn't have so much freedom. But go ahead.
The other thing, too, is I'm surprised this hasn't been hit on more, because it's proof that Hillary Clinton and her cohort have been involved with ISIS. Because what did she say? We came, we saw, and we conquered. She didn't do that with the troops from America. That was done by these same people that they're talking about now.
That's right. She said, she quoted Julius Caesar. I came, I saw, or we came, we saw, we conquered. She also came and laughed. We came, we saw, he died. Talking about Muammar Gaddafi, who compared to ISIS, he had reformed for a decade, given up his weapons, invested his money with the West, had, met with Obama. He bought into all of it, showing how naive even world leaders are. And they set him up, and they took that country down, and now our own government admits Libya is dozens of times worse than it was.
Muammar Gaddafi warning every Muslim leader that you're next. In it, Assad is laughing. I mean, it's such an interesting thing. But what I really wanted to ask you, Alex, and I'll get it in quick, I asked my buddies around here because I've started stocking up on silver, firearms. The other thing, the problem that I have, though, is when I ask my friends, I say, if a nuke goes off in the United States, because you have Obama, Dick Cheney, you have people in Congress talking about it. If that was happening in Canada, Premier Harper, Premier Martin talking about us being nuked, there would be huge hysteria. People would be wondering, well, what are you talking about and what are you doing to deal with it? Well, if something goes off in the States, should I continue to go to work or should I stay at home?
Well, I mean, we'll have to look at it at that point. We're trying to stop that happening right now, but this is a great call, great points that you're making here, Mike. Our media, the corporate media, the mainstream media, the dinosaur media, the kleptocrat media, the Decepticon media, the state-run media is so ridiculous that they should be freaking out and asking Obama every day forever, what do you mean a nuke going off in New York? What do you mean Senator Graham telling CBS News at a press conference there's nukes loose in the U.S. and the Carolinas or New York are about to be hit, imminent Assad, right when we announce there's missing nukes. I mean, but no, they all just know to shut up because that's scary. They'd rather talk about a house was robbed today in Austin and someone stole a kitten that was being given antibiotics and it may be sick. Top story tonight. I was watching the news last night and it was a missing kitten who may be sick. So I wanted to see the weather report. And before I could see the weather, I had to hear about a missing kitten because they knew that's just a missing kitten. It's all about fake feel-good, about, oh, and did you get your vaccines? We don't want you to get sick at school. Just all preying on people. Can you imagine the soft population when the entire financial center gets blown to hell? And there will be floods of money out of the country before that happens, which is already going on. And this is only a possibility. But see, what did I keep saying 6 months ago with the whole Dias emergency and then now? I said, if they start promoting nukes going off, you know that they are already looking at deploying them and detonating them. And see, stuff goes on, like congressmen get calls, like Rand Paul and people. I'm not saying that I heard about this from him. I'm just saying that hypothetically. They get calls and they go, you know, it's going to be too bad, Senator, when the nukes go off, because we've got intel there's nukes are here. And if we don't think we can politically fix things in this country, you know, the terrorists might just detonate nukes. And we want to make sure your family gets out during this time, gets out of D.C. You understand? We want to protect you. It's a very dangerous world. And what do you do when someone's openly threatening you like that? But it's listen, the public wants to tear you apart. They hate you because you're successful and smart. You need to join the elite and try to influence it from the inside, and you'll be protected when all this stuff comes down. You're absolutely right about the future. There will be no America as you know it, and you need to either leave the United States and shut up or join with Sauron. They don't say it like that, but they or join. And then the offers come in to go to this party or go to this event or go to this corporate junket. Or, folks, if I told people the stuff I've been offered, I won't even tell people because it sounds too ridiculous. Believe me, it's beyond being invited to be a keynote speaker at Oxford. And then I turned that down, and I was offered Oxford and Cambridge to address the main deal, like presidents and Gandhi have done and Martin Luther King. I'm not bragging about that. But that's the kind of stuff that goes on. Like right around the time they were saying, come to England, I was also approached by super high-level people who said, would you like to come be part of an event? And I said, what's that event? And they said, well, it's what you talk about. But you want to come to this event, there's no getting out. People say, why don't you tell us who told you this? I wouldn't be told all this stuff if I told people the stuff that goes on, okay? I'm just here to tell you, I'm not bragging. The stuff I talk about here on air has got the establishment's attention. You know why? Because they want to know how I know all this stuff. They want to know why I understand them. And it's not magic. I've studied enough history and watched how they operate and seen all the different angles of it. You can see what they're doing. So, I mean, I'm just here to tell everybody this is real. Thank you, Mike. Great caller. Yeah, you asked me, what do you do? I don't know. I'm so busy running my operation and fighting these people, I don't have all the preparations in place for my family. I got a wall around the house, a well, some solar, stuff like that, but I don't even have my family in order. I can't even run my own life properly. And I mean, most people will see my family and say it's going great. No, I feel guilty every minute of the day that I'm not just taking care of my family and getting out of here. But that's an animal level instinct to run. But every day it gnaws at me. Every day I get angry. Every day I get upset about it because I'm just staying here in place while I see the water rising because I know I got to wait till the tank goes all the way full. That's when the latch opens when we got a chance to get out of here. I got to be in the tank when people finally can't breathe and they're going, oh, what do we do? Then we can get out of the tank. It's like a Houdini trick. You can't get to the latch. It doesn't trigger till the tank's completely full and the lights go off. Then you got to control yourself, not panic, get in there and try to get out. It's at the crisis point that we've got to be in place, all of us, for the maximum effort. And I believe God will guide us at that point with the answers of what needs to be done. But, I mean, this is all real. I know it's real. I mean, I've been approached by multiple angles. And so I just hope everybody understands, folks, that there's a real... You think 9/11 was big? I told you something much bigger is coming 13 years ago, probably nuclear. And now you see them promoting it. Just like before 9/11, they were saying, get ready for terror attacks, give your rights up when it happens. They're now preparatory. They're now getting everybody ready.
When it comes to our security, with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan, which is part of the reason why... the United States.
Let's go to Jason in Tennessee. Thanks for holding. Listening on 1470 AM WBCR, one of our oldest affiliates. You're on the air, Jason.
Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thanks for putting up with me. What's your point?
It's wonderful to talk to you again. I just want to let you know I've been praying for you and your whole crew. Y'all do great work. But I was the chief engineer at a hotel for 7 years, and there was an Army contractor that stayed there all the time. He was there about as much as he was in Afghanistan. And he said that, you talk about the FEMA camps and all that. He said that when the collapse comes, that basically anybody who makes less than $100,000 a year is going to be put in the camps. That was straight out of his mouth. And he was very connected, so to speak,
And it's going to be worse than that. I mean, when they're done, it's just the end of everything. They want to break this country forever. I want to hear more about this. I'm going to come back to you, Jason. We'll do some overdrive. Mark in Arkansas. But hey, according to Obama and the Democrats, everything is awesome. Everything is super when you're part of a team. Yeah, just go along with the system. Everything's going to be all right. Stay with us. We'll be back. Yes, the show is sensational. Yes, it's absolutely out of control. Yes, it's based on the near future reality that we're living in. The government is making preparations for a nuke to go off in the U.S. and allowing ISIS to come into the country, who's clearly infiltrating at every level. It is a Saudi Arabian deal with the globalists to destabilize the country. And Jason in Tennessee, so you would talk to this, I think you said in your words, high-level Army or military contractor who stayed in the hotel a lot of the time. And did he say he had firsthand knowledge of the FEMA camps, or was that his opinion about anybody making less than $100,000 a year would be put in one?
No, yeah, he seemed to have firsthand knowledge. Like he had heard it and he knew it. See, there's a smoking area outside the hotel where all the housekeepers would go smoke. And, the customers would go smoke there, too. And he would hear them talking, political stuff. And most of it, what they heard from me, because I listened to your show. And he couldn't believe that they knew what they knew. He couldn't believe it. But, he confided in me. He told me that basically the plan is anybody making less than $100,000 a year is going to the camp when the nuke goes off, or the biological weapon, or whatever their plan is.
Well, that's what they tell people, because they know most of the contractors are making more of that, so they feel like they're part of the establishment. You're going to have all sorts of people that are working class that have special security badges that are allowed to go and come. It's basically anybody they want, they're going to grab and throw in these things. It's like they tell the professors, we're going to release a bioweapon down the road, and it's going to kill 90%, but you're going to be given the cure. Now, higher level ones, because I've talked to them and they've been out there on air. No, they've been told, no, everybody's going to die. And they're like, it's okay, it's for the earth. I'm ready to die. My family's ready to die. Like Dr. Pianka said that on the news. I know I have to die and my family does too. And when it comes, we're sad about it, but it's for the earth. But when you get into deeper globalist documents, they plan to kill down to 1%. Now, I don't know they'll ever even do that. That's just what they talk about, and they tend to try whatever they talk about. But they want to get everything ratcheted down first. They got to get rid of a few sovereign countries first, because even though those countries are corrupt and have problems, they could put up a resistance later. They could put up a resistance down the road to the globalists, and they don't want that. They want only a global state attacking the individual with just no way to get around it, with a panopticonic internet control grid over everything. I appreciate your call. Interesting story. Mark in Kansas, you're on the air. Then we'll go to break and come back with Rico and others. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Alex, bless you, your family, and your crew. Shout out to your crew for that great Ferguson reporting. Hey, I heard one of your previous callers talk about everybody needs to be citizen journalists. Well, you have inspired me to create an app to do just that.
Good. Tell us about it.
It's called Spread It Now. Spread It is one word without an A, now. S-P-R-E-D-I-T, now. When you use an iPhone, it takes about 5 or 6 steps to send out a video. The police can detain you, take that phone and delete it. With my app, you press start, stop, send. It cannot be stopped, it cannot be deleted, and it cannot be jammed. And it puts a decoy copy into the photo cache. So if somebody does grab your phone and deletes that video, it's already gone. They're deleting a decoy. It's called Spread It Now. I've got it on iPhone right now. I'll have it on Android in a couple of weeks. It's 99 cents at the App Store. And I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate all that you do. I've had my iodine today. I drank my tangy tangerine with my water, filtered through my ProPure water filter. It's awesome. Keep up the good work.
God bless you for your support. We couldn't do any of it without you shopping at InfoWarsStore.com. God bless you. We'll come back in Overdrive, take some more calls. InfoWars.com/show. I'll be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. Don't take it for granted. I don't. Nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Central, PrisonPlanet.tv. I want to say great job for the crew, our sponsors, affiliates, listeners this week. Great job with the reporters up in Ferguson, as the last caller said. Let's get 3 final calls. Serena, Greg, and Andrew in. Serena, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, it's actually Sabrina.
I'm sorry, Sabrina. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm actually calling because years ago, about like 8 years ago, I moved in this town. This town is so small, it doesn't have like a big like public official like a governor or anything like that. It's that small. But there's a base on here that's a reserve base, and the reserve base would only have like 1 or 2 Hummer trucks in there. And I noticed about like, I don't know, about a year ago or so, they started like putting more vehicles in there, and that were really more, they looked more high tech and stuff. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I think it was probably like within this past week, I found stuff on the internet for them looking for positions, for people to fill positions over there for martial law enforcers and stuff. I found all sorts of strange stuff on the internet about that, about the government looking for all types of jobs like that.
Yeah, well, that's on the Fed Biz Ops. They're hiring for foreign operations and domestic internment specialists at metric levels 10, 20, 30 times, depending on which area it is that we've ever seen. There's just a massive buildup for domestic suppression. While the government starts talking about ISIS hitting us and nukes going off, and they armed ISIS and are protecting them. I mean, it's 2 + 2 = 4. It makes me want to throw up. God bless you. I appreciate your call. It's arming ISIS is treason right there. And then you add everything else to it. It's just mind-blowing. Greg in Minnesota, thanks for holding. Go ahead. Michigan, go ahead.
It's in Michigan there, Alex.
I know, Michigan. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no problem at all. Hey, listen, I just wanted to make you and your listeners aware of a radio show that took place here in the Detroit area last week on a Faith Talk. It's WLQV Faith Talk 1500. A trucker called in. They were discussing on that radio show all of the stuff that was going on in Ferguson and the militarization of the police and that type of thing. And a trucker called in on that radio show talking about how he had to make a delivery at a warehouse in Detroit.
And then martial law signs fell out?
No, what happened was when he pulled in there was it was full of tanks and all types of military vehicles and equipment inside there.
Okay, so I've always heard the martial law thing, but no, I mean, they are deploying the tanks. They are deploying Bradley fighting vehicles and others all over the country. That is confirmed, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I know. It was just that what he was talking about was this warehouse, and there was a Homeland Security guy on the inside of the warehouse when he pulled in there. It's on the podcast if you want the...
do me a favor. Will you email that to showtips@infowars.com, sir?
I sure will.
Thank you, Greg. You're just awesome. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you for all you do, man.
All right, thanks for putting up with me. Let's talk to Rico in Michigan again. Go ahead, Rico.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm all right, brother.
It's I'm a new listener, but probably, I don't know, seems like years, but it's probably been about 9 months.
Well, good to have you on board, brother. We got about a minute. Go ahead.
Eugenics. I think that's the key to this whole thing, because people, until they really grasp that is real, nothing else matters, because they just go, oh, GMOs, yeah, I'll just eat organic, or I'll filter my water, or whatever. But when they hit eugenics, that's when I really woke up.
That's right. We have a purposeful global scientific dictatorship that wants to dumb us down and then kill us in their own words. Once you know that, then it all makes sense.
Exactly.
What was it like when you discovered the real eugenics agenda?
Well, I started filtering my water, drinking, going organic, and just, I mean, I'm ready to go, but I don't want to have to.
Well, good job, brother. We appreciate you. Spread the word about liberty. Everybody else that's telling the truth. And please spread the word about PrisonPlanet.tv. Nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock. I'll be back live, Lord willing. I don't take it for granted, Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Take care.